spies, saboteurs, assassins. Everything I did for the rebellion.
This is Rebel Force Radio's ANDOR
After Show.
I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old.
Oh, wow. What a show. What a finale. We're going to break it all down here this week on the Rebel Force Radio ANDOR After Show. Thank you so much for being with us. I tell you, the buildup of characters, of situations and tensions so brilliantly and so satisfyingly brought back into this finale. The way that this plot line has been stitched so well together continues to really impress and excite me. Everything, all these characters converging on Ferrix. It was just amazing to see everybody. Cyril's there, and Dedra's there, and Luthen's there, and Bix is there. Of course, she's there. Where's she going to go? But Cassian's there. They're all there. And, what hits the fan. And it was, I thought, just absolutely wall-to-wall satisfying episode and just a great finale. Everything you'd want, I think, from a finale. We'll see what you all think. By the way, thank you so much for joining us here on Thanksgiving Eve. Those of you who celebrate the U.S. Thanksgiving holiday, we appreciate it very much. Of course, Thanksgiving, what they call in Canada and Europe Thursday, but we call it Thanksgiving here. And, Thanksgiving Eve, has a lot of traditions. It tends to be a night where you get together with old friends. You come back to the old neighborhood and hang out. And we're certainly glad that you're hanging out with us here on Rebel Force Radio. And there's nobody I would rather be hanging with on a Thanksgiving Eve than this guy. That's right. My good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. So glad to be back with the ANDOR After Show season finale. Man, the time has just flown by. Great first season, really rich storytelling, great acting, and a story told with a beginning, a middle, and an end. Wow. A fully fleshed out story that went someplace, that offered us development of the plot and evolution of the characters. Yeah, that's what happens when you plan it out. See, good Star Wars can still be made. Something that doesn't feel shallow or hollow, that has some real richness and really goes somewhere. And that's what we saw with season 1 of ANDOR. A lot to be said about this episode. I guess right away we should address a couple of the rumors that we heard last week. Rumor it came from the same place. We did get the post-credit scene with the droids building the Death Star with those pieces, those parts. But we didn't get the F the Empire, or did we?
Well,
maybe fight the Empire. So somebody said that they slowed it down and just went frame by frame, and they said you could clearly see she was saying the profanity. She was using the adult language.
Yeah, I've watched enough NFL coaches on the sidelines. I know what that mouth movement, that is one word I can read lips with. And so, I didn't go back and look at it, Jim, but that was something I thought of, like, I wonder if we go back and watch that in slow-mo. She's like, the Empire.
Yeah. I think, the House of Mouse drew the line right there, I think. I have no way of confirming it, but maybe we'll find out down the road. I mean, Tony Gilroy, he's loose-lipped about the way he puts these together and what goes on in the writer's room and things they debate and some of the ideas they toss away.
Yeah, Disney lost their balls on the F word. I tried real hard to get it through, but,
So maybe we'll find out the truth about that. But we did get that post-credit scene.
We sure did.
Was, pretty cool stuff.
And those pieces and parts weren't just going to any old part of the Death Star. They were going to the super laser So very
Yes.
cool. So that was one of the last things, and of course we'll see that in Rogue One. With the final completion of that super laser.
Sad irony when you think that Cassian was helping to create the weapon that ended up killing him, essentially,
Yeah.
But then sweet
absolutely.
justice when you realize his actions and the reason he was on Scarif lead to the eventual destruction of the Death Star.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
So
it is.
he is,
It's
the middleman to the extreme is Cassian.
well, he's
Andor.
middle management, Rebel. No, I mean, yeah, it's a great point because obviously for the last 45 years, I mean, we've been thinking about the rebellion, really being an instrument of the Force, that the Jedi were sort of the spirit of it. But I'm really enjoying and coming to not just coming to terms, but like I said, really enjoying this idea that the rebellion is not just mysticism and Force users and the chosen ones, that there are real Star Wars historical figures like Luthen, for example, like Saw Gerrera, like Cassian Andor, that all these others, they're standing on the shoulders of these that risked everything. And so it's not that I see one as being better than the other or really at this point, saying, well, this is Star Wars and that isn't. I'm starting to be able to see it as one big thing, very similar to the way the Clone Wars, which I know we've said over and over again over the years, the way that the Clone Wars really helped bridge the gap between the prequels and the original trilogy. I see Andor really helping to bridge the gap between the two big sides of the rebellion.
Yeah, kind of in a fashion similar to the way the old expanded universe used to do it. Sometimes focusing in on guys who have that 9-to-5 job, who somehow get affected by the oppression of the Empire, or they work for the Empire, or they, there's just so many different takes over the years in expanded universe books and comics and things of that nature. So I think this is really cool, though, that they've been able to execute it with live action Star Wars, and we actually care. We actually give a damn.
Big time.
That's
Big
a true
time care
test. That's a
about these
true test.
characters.
Yeah.
It
was great to see them all come together at the
wasn't it? It was like a reunion almost.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Even characters that you might have thought, in lesser hands from a writing perspective, might have been forgotten or thought about as, they're not necessary. Everybody came back.
Yeah, go back and watch that first 3-episode arc that kicked off this whole season, and you'll see all the same players are introduced in those beginning episodes.
Heck yeah.
And now they're brought back and to varying degrees of spotlight. Like even the guy that was shaking down Cassian at the beginning of episode 1, when he was there and he had his big goon alien friend with him.
Was that
and,
Nurchi?
He was shaking him. That was Nurchi. Yeah, that was Nurchi.
So
Nurchi, we've seen all of these people before.
His whole family, rats.
Even Willman, who, when the episode kicked off, I was like, who is this guy? He's soldering and he's building a pipe bomb. Who is this guy? But then, they show him and he looks
What was his name, by the way? I kept
Willman.
Willman. Because it looks like he's the son of
the shop owner.
The shop owner, yeah, that gets shot.
Yes. Pack, I think his name was, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a name I forget.
Yeah, so many names, so many characters, and a lot of them sound the same, but and some of them aren't even names. They're just like words, like odd words. Clem.
Yeah. When they first showed Willman, though, I was thinking, oh, Nemec lives. The guy with the manifesto, he lived some. Oh, wait a second, that's not him. But they looked alike to me. So
they're all.
So
short
I
names.
got a little excited. Yeah,
they're all.
I had a few WTF moments the first time I watched this episode.
Oh yeah,
because Yeah, because these characters, they were just popping up, and even though we were introduced to them previously, they didn't stick with me.
Sure.
And so I was wondering, well, who is this now? Who is that? The second time I watched it, everything really came together for me.
Well, I'll tell
There's
you
a
what,
lot of
we've
moving
mentioned it.
parts
Oh,
in this season finale.
a ton. We've mentioned it before. Jim, I know you go a step deeper and you listen to it with the audio description track. I always watch with the subtitles. It's to me, it's essential, because I'm taking notes throughout the episode and, trying to catch names I didn't even know. I don't even know if Nurchi's name is even mentioned, verbally, but it's in the credits. But let's get into it. Or not in the credits, in the subtitles. Let's get into it. Let's give the tale of the tape here. Season finale, episode 12, Andor season 1. The original air date, November 23rd, 2022. Directed by Benjamin Caron and written, as we thought, by Tony Gilroy. He was definitely going to be the guy to land the ship as the writer with the last 2 episodes. Jim, I was really struck by how hands-on they all were. Luthen, Dedra, they were all converging there on Ferrix. They all knew what the risks were. I don't know that they realized, the extent of the unrest that was going to happen there on Ferrix. I think they all knew that they had to have known there was some risk because they were really clamping down on aspects of the funeral. For example, they wanted to go at noon, but they're like, no, you got to go at 2. They went at noon anyway, which I thought was kind of a nice FU to them. But so they were clamping down, and obviously they had the imps had the riot gear and all of that. But I thought it was very surprising. Dedra, as a matter of fact, putting herself right there in the thick of things, boots on the ground. She wanted to be the one to reel in this fish.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. She'd been following it so closely, and we knew she was going to show up on Ferrix because the scene of her emerging with the 2 Death Troopers was seen in footage released prior to the season even beginning. Yeah. So we knew she was going to come back to Ferrix.
Had a great entrance on that, coming out of that Imperial shuttle too, right?
Dude, did that not look great, man, to see that Imperial shuttle show up? And that was a really well-executed special effect too. And I noticed that whenever these ramps are unfurling from the bottom of these ships, the Imperials, they're always walking down, even Han Solo does this. They're always walking down the ramp before the ramp is fully revealed itself. Yeah, for the ramp is fully
all
down.
The way down. Down. It's all the way unramped.
Did you notice it's like a Star Wars thing? They're always just like walking down the ramp before it's completely down.
To me, it's like in the action movies where the guy doesn't even look back on the explosion. It's just sort of a cool, swaggery kind of thing. Like, I've been down this ramp 150,000 times. I know what I'm doing. I'm doing.
So I just want to point that out. That's just one of those visual things. It happens all the time in Star Wars. I think it's hilarious. But Imperial Shuttle, one of the coolest OT vehicles by far. One of the coolest vehicles in all of Star Wars.
Oh,
really.
yeah.
So it's so cool to see that happen, bring us that special effect there at the beginning. While that's being intercut with Willman building a pipe bomb. So it's like, here comes the Empire, better get ready.
Yeah. And, at first I thought that he was looking at because I just wasn't putting the connection between him and the shop owner.
Right. Yeah.
So I saw the hologram and I'm like, oh, is he inspired by Cassian? Is that Cassian's hologram that he's looking at? But then when you see it, it's like, oh, and then you see like there's a physical resemblance between the two and you go, oh, this is the kid. Holy crap. There's a lot to unpack with that whole final riot, uprising that we'll definitely get to. A lot of cool character stuff going on. I mentioned Nurchi. He sort of came and went, but he really plays a pivotal role in this episode. You see him working. I don't know how to pronounce his name, like Zanwan at the bar, because Zanwan is the one that actually talked to Andor in the last episode. He's oh, poor Cassian. It's a good thing he doesn't know about Marva and all of that. I didn't miss anything. Was there any tip-off that we had earlier in the series that would have implicated him as a spy, or was he a spy or just an opportunist? Do we think just somebody who wanted to get some cash?
Maybe he was bitter. Cassian owed him money. It wouldn't pay up.
He did owe him money. I forgot about that. No, you're right. Yes.
Yeah. So he wants to make back that money somehow, and assuming there's a reward for turning in Cassian. Then
sure.
He's going to get his money somehow.
One way or another.
That's all he cares about. Yeah, that's all he even cares about. So you don't think he's getting all involved in the revolution against the Empire. No, he wants his payday.
He gets his payday.
Oh, yeah, well, he gets it. The window blows in on him right on his face and sends him across the room. That's it for Nurchi.
Yeah. We learned that Perrin has a gambling problem, or has a history.
He has a
gambling problem. How present his gambling problem is remains to be seen. But it seems like those were just some pearls that she left for her driver, just to see. Well, at first I thought it was a trap, right? Like to see if he is reporting back. And then I realized, no, it's actually even smarter than that. It's to throw them off the trail of her financial transactions, which I thought was very cool.
Yeah, so poor Perrin, he's coming off of this party. He still has his cocktail in his hands. And all of a sudden...
He's the Dean Martin of Star Wars. He just wants to party, man. He wants to hang.
And all of a sudden, the old lady's all over him for his gambling problem, and he hasn't laid down a bet in years.
How many times has that happened to you, fellas, where, she gets all upset. You're like, what? I wasn't doing anything.
Right. But Mon knew exactly what she was doing. She was feeding the driver some information so he would take it back to the Empire. Apparently, Blevin is the one who is overseeing Mon Mothma's surveillance and her bank accounts and everything. So she knows. She plants that information with the driver, and he goes back and tells Blevin. Now, all of a sudden, when they're sniffing around her bank accounts, there's a reason why that money is missing. Because Perrin is going to the track. He's betting on the horses. He's throwing down insane money on Coruscant sports teams and stuff. He's got a real problem. Meanwhile, Perrin thinks that was years ago. That was back in college. God, you can't let it go.
Keep bringing that up. There's no statute of limitations on this stuff, guys. You know that.
So, I feel a little sorry for Perrin. I think a lot of people have been attacking Perrin over this season, and I think he's just a victim of circumstance.
Absolutely. And I think he's a guy that he's like, I don't think he's an idealist. I don't think he's an imperial loyalist. I think he just wants to have a good time. I think that's the kind of guy he is. He doesn't want to rock the boat. He's got money. He's married to a senator. He's got clout. He's like, hey, he doesn't want to, I don't think he is, I think he's pretty clueless in terms of the great galactic struggle. Now, a huge twist would be if all of a sudden he knows everything that's going on. I don't think that's the case. I think he's kind of a kept man, honestly. He's kept in, Mon's got it seems like Mon's got the money, but he has sort of the charm and the people skills that probably really helped her in her political career, would be my guess.
This is true. However, Davos Skulden does mention to Mon in that first meeting they have that he had met her husband many times. And Davos is a gangster, isn't he?
Oh, good point.
So
That
But this could
gambling
be in the
thing?
past. Again,
Maybe?
this all could be in the past. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, to pay his debts. Or Davos Skulden will send the Star Wars equivalent of Luca Brasi over to shake him down.
Yeah, it's the world build. This goes back to world building. The world building in this series is phenomenal because all of a sudden you're like, oh, this Davos guy, he's pretty interesting. You know, it did it in a way that I think I kind of feel like the Book of Boba Fett wanted to do. I think Book of Boba Fett really wanted to create, you know, to do this world building and kind of have all these different characters that popped up where, you know, they all could be so interesting that they could show up in another series, have their own series, you know, who knows? It's arguable whether they really pulled it off. I think there are some characters that stood out in Book of Boba Fett, but this show delivers it. They're just not cartoony. They're not comic book characters. They're like real relatable. You know, I don't want to use the word people, but I mean they're just relatable people. I thought that the Clem flashback was very touching. You know, when Cassian touches the stone that is carrying the remains. And, you know, his lesson, they flash back. You don't see young Cassian, you see Clem. And the lesson that he teaches him is he's a scavenger. And Jim, you called it several episodes ago. I kept saying, well, maybe there's more to Clem and Marva than meets the eyes. And you're like, yeah, they're scavengers. And they actually show a scavenger refurbishing a piece of gear. And he talks about it's old junk. People don't look up. They don't see past the rust, past all the crust and stuff, and see the gem that's inside of that. And I think that's kind of an analogy for Cassian in a way.
Yeah. I didn't realize that he was leaning on his dad's brick on the wall until I watched it a second time.
Yeah.
Because you were able to see the bricks then, because
Right.
Brasso is holding Marva's brick as he's walking along in the funeral procession. But to me, that just looked like some, you know, Star Wars sign or something. You see him around, you know. I didn't recognize the significance.
Was this? I just wonder if the stones were they in Orabesh? I mean, I'm assuming somebody, if they were, if you know in the chat, maybe you saw. I would assume they would have kept that. I mean, that's such a Star. I mean, that's so integral to Star Wars.
It is. It's so common. I don't even notice it when I see it now.
You know, we claimed or we talked about Nemec's manifesto. I got really excited, Jim, when in the previously on Andor segment, they showed, you know, that sort of gets you ready for what you should know, obviously going into the new episode. When they talked and they showed clips of Nemec in the manifesto, I'm like, oh, we're finally going to get the payoff on the manifesto. It was good. It was good. I liked hearing the actor's voiceover. So I would have maybe liked to have seen that brought out further or, you know, more throughout the episode. I would have liked to have heard throughout the episode Nemec almost narrating the episode and tying back the action that you're seeing to his manifesto. So I'm not sure if I got enough of the manifesto considering the build up to it, but it was nice. I was like that they didn't ignore it.
Are you feeling manifesto deficiency, Jason?
I am. My doctor tested me this week.
Well, you get the idea of it though. And we finally, in this episode, get to see Cassian perform a selfless act, which I don't really think we've seen him do at all in this series. And it's only after he listens to the manifesto. And the selfless act I'm speaking of is he goes and he risks everything to save Bix.
Yeah.
And that was real. I mean, can we say Cassian has performed any selfless act at all in this show? I mean, even
Aldani was motivated by cash.
Was motivated by a payday. It was definitely and then he regretted even going to Aldani when he learned his mother died.
Yeah.
But it was, it was a couple of things. It's Nemec's manifesto, and it was Brasso delivering Marva's final words to Cassian,
Yes.
the message for Cassian. And
Very
those
powerful.
2 things motivated him. Yeah. Now, I don't know where his mom saw that potential in Cassian, because from what we understand, he was kind of like a troublemaker, a womanizer,
Yeah.
guy who,
Playboy.
somebody who brought trouble. He was, that's just it. He was
I
kind of
think
had a
he's one of
black
those guys
cloud
that had a penchant for finding trouble. If there was
Yeah, or
trouble going on
having
anywhere,
trouble
he would.
find him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
or having trouble find him. It's like that friend of yours, and you're in high school, and you got the kegger going in somebody's garage, and all of a sudden the cops pull up, and 80 kids go running in different directions, but only one guy gets caught, and that's your buddy.
That's Cassian Andor. You're
It's
so right.
Cassian.
Cassian's the guy that gets pinched
Yeah.
in high school when you got the booze flowing. That's so true. I love it.
He's the guy. He's got that black cloud over him.
You
And
know-
so finally, though, in this episode, we see some real evolution. I think just in the selfless act of him putting it all on the line to go save Bix. And he's walking right into the heart of the enemy by doing that too.
Yeah.
So that's I think big for him. Big for him. And of course, the way the episode ends is another huge step in his evolution.
So, you and I both were in agreement last week saying that despite, him being the title character of the show, we're just drawn to some of the other characters. We care about them more. They've shown us more. We're more invested in them. Did this episode and his sacrifice, and then his willing to sacrifice himself for Bix, and then really laying it on the line with Luthen at the very end, did it go any further to creating more of a connection with you and Andor?
I guess so. I mean, it was like, hearing his mom's assessment of him gives him a little bit of, I don't know, different spirit almost. And all these little points along the way in his progression of becoming the rebel we know he becomes. We see 3 things in this episode, 4 things even. He's reading the manifesto. He really soaks in the words that Brasso delivers, the message from his mom. He rescues Bix, and then he confronts Luthen and says, "Kill me or take me in."
Yeah.
Luthen smiles, and then it fades to black and into credits. What if right when it fades to black, there's a gun, there's a blaster shot?
What is this, The Sopranos? All of a sudden?
Now we know that's impossible because Andor lives.
Of course. Andor lives. Yeah, you don't need any hashtags on that one. We know Andor lives.
But yeah, I mean, now Luthen doesn't have a real reason to kill Andor.
Oh, and that was something. I mean, I was actually seeing in the chat, there's some people that are really calling Luthen out, saying, that this was not a fine moment for Luthen. He's a total opportunist. He's willing to sacrifice anybody. We finally heard about the Krieger's fate. 30 men plus Krieger. I thought they were going to throw that gag in there. One more time. Plus Krieger.
Poor Krieger.
Oh,
Krieger.
man.
He gets no screen time. We never get to know Krieger. He's a sacrificial lamb. We only get to see him once as a hologram.
Right.
He never gets to deliver a line of dialogue. He doesn't even get a death scene. But I guarantee you that whoever stood in that hologram, that person is going to make a fortune on the autograph circuit at conventions.
Come on.
Wait,
we
who
all
are you again?
Come on. You want Krieger to sign the Andor poster. Of course. You got to have him. He's the chase card. We learned that the daughters of Ferrix, Jim, something that we've talked about too is that I was creating all these ideas in my head. Marva's a spy. Marva's been, working with Luthen behind the scenes for years. And you were quick to point out a lot of this show is exactly as it appears to be. It's fairly straightforward. And we as Star Wars fans are always kind of, and of course we're taking these episodes one by one. We're looking under every stone, every rock, trying to squeeze all of the details out of it. And the Daughters of Ferrix turn out to be a social club, like you'd have the Red Hat ladies or, whatever. At least that's what they're claiming. They're a social club. But she had a real social conscience, Marva did. So the daughters of Ferrix, to my knowledge, really didn't have a lot to do with it, but or with Marva, it created obviously a group of like-minded ladies that she hung out with and probably exchanged ideas, sort of like the Daughters of the Revolution we would think about here in the U.S. But there was so much fire in her speech that she gives, and I'm assuming that hologram is a bit of a tradition. I don't know if it's the Daughters of the Ferrix tradition or just a Ferrix in general tradition where they sort of give their last speech. And man, we've talked about a number of different monologues in this series, well crafted, well written, and this was another one, home run. Every line, I was just writing it down, was quotable. It was so good.
Yeah. There's a few things to unwrap with this one. I think the whole nature of including these Daughters of Ferrix and everything is just something to give us, to let us know as viewers why the big funeral procession, why the big public display, why is everyone there? It's because Marva was well known in the community. She was a community leader. They said she was a former president of the Daughters of Ferrix. So that little bit of background just justifies the size of her send-off, the public send-off,
right?
And the fact that the people there really care about that sort of thing. Plus, the brick in the wall thing, that probably draws a lot of interest as well.
Yeah.
Hey, we're getting a new brick.
Does everybody get a brick? Or is it a certain
I think everyone gets a brick. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's their tradition. But what was really cool was when the violence did erupt after her hologram speech. She says in the hologram that she wants her death to mean something, and she wants to, she wishes she could be there to, fight, to stand up and fight. And I was thinking about all of that stuff when the violence erupts and Brasso is holding her brick and he smacks an Imperial soldier upside the head with it. And I'm like, there you go, Marva, from beyond the grave. You're kicking ass. Look at you.
So in a way, Marva is in the fight. I love that.
Yeah.
I love
she's
that.
Actually in the fight. Thanks to Brasso. The big man. The big man.
Oh, they were watching was it Andor's, was it Marva's house or was it the hotel they were watching? And they were all disappointed, the imps, because the big man, as they described him, came out. Oh, it's the big man.
I think it was Marva's residence.
Yeah. But boy, oh boy, the speech, they left us alone. Like she talks about how they came and they went and we were sleeping. We figured that they wouldn't be back. But they're here and they're not leaving. It's a wound that won't heal. She talks about the how the empire, the evil of the empire grows in the darkness. It was it was phenomenal. It was so well done, so well written, and so well acted, performed. It was, every bit as good, I think, as the Luthen speech, to be honest with you. Fantastic. For me, it was.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah. There's something about Stellan Skarsgård that I think really elevates him. And he just really sinks his teeth into this dialogue.
He's just grizzled and bitter and You know, everything.
I would
is
have
like,
liked.
I want gravy with my turkey. Everything takes a real dramatic turn with this guy, you know, no matter what he's talking about.
I would have liked to have seen more from Luthen in this episode. Actually, you know, he's mostly watching from the sidelines
Yeah,
throughout the
yeah.
whole thing, waiting to get his shot at Andor. You know, they just need to keep that thing from becoming a loose thread that might just unravel everything. So
Well, I
they
mean,
have to wipe out Andor.
that's, I think, one of the things that folks in the chat were reacting to. I'm sure many listening were reacting to was this notion of, Luthen. He goes, that's what makes this so great. They'll find him, we'll kill him. When they're talking about Andor, he's counting on the Empire wanting him alive, whereas he doesn't. I don't need to worry about keeping him alive. He's gone.
And you have Dedra many times throughout the episode reinforcing that notion, you know, we want him alive. We want him alive because he's going to lead them to access.
Yeah.
Not access, axis. Why do you say access?
Yes.
Like
and,
Access
and that's
Hollywood.
what the main guy, I can never remember his name. He was talking to
Partagas.
Dedra. Yes. Partagas.
Yeah.
I loved his quote. He says, today is about wiping the taste of Aldhani out of the Emperor's mouth.
Yeah.
Maybe that's kind of a up close and personal with the Emperor.
The Emperor with a bad taste in his mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's breath smells bad on a good day. Imagine when he has a bad taste in his mouth. Imagine that stinky breath from Palpatine. Ugh,
You know,
it'd just be like, ugh.
You mentioned Blevin, and I think that the comparison between Blevin and Dedra is interesting. You know, whereas Dedra is just right on Andor's heels, right? That's her foe, that's her white whale, and she's just right there. She's so close. And meanwhile, you got Blevin. You know, he's having smoke blown up his rear end. He now is totally thrown off the Mon Mothma trail because of that gambling thing. So he continues to come up short. I don't know if he's going to figure into season 2 much or not, but it seems like as far as round 1, season 1, Dedra has totally left that guy in the dust.
Oh yeah. She's running circles around him. I mean, but he is barking up the right tree, though. I mean,
True.
Mon Mothma is involved in some unsavory activity in the eyes of the Empire. So it's not like he's a fool. He's going after the right thing. But she might be outmaneuvering him a little bit. But I don't think so. I think the heat will continue with Mon Mothma. And Blevin is going to continue to hunt her down. So yes, I think we'll see him in season 2, and I think he'll get closer. I think he'll be more successful than he was this season.
So he'll continue chipping away at Mon Mothma, and eventually, possibility that maybe Perrin turns. I think if given the right opportunity, the right motivation, maybe Perrin ends up, Jim, being the guy, as a dad. I don't know if I'd like this arranged marriage stuff. I don't know how I'd feel about it. Maybe that's the final straw because, the last time we see Mon in this episode is with this introduction of her daughter, Lita, to Davos's son. And so that, the fact that they sort of ended Mon's season 1 arc on that note makes me think that it's going to have big ramifications in the future.
Oh yeah. And maybe investigations into Davo will reveal something about Mon. There could be all sort of issues going on here with that, and because he's obviously somebody who skates on the perimeter of law and order. He's not exactly a guy who's doing things on the up and up. So just that connection alone, I think, makes Mon a little bit more vulnerable than she should be at this time. This will all unravel in season 2, and it ain't going to be pretty. That I know.
Yeah.
That I know, because eventually we get to a point where 2 years prior to the events of A New Hope, Mon Mothma resigns from the Senate and goes into hiding. And then she starts broadcasting anti-empire propaganda,
Right.
and that puts a big target on her back. She doesn't have the family along for the ride on that one. So as far as we know, I mean, maybe they were just off camera the whole time.
As far as anti-empire propaganda, going back real quick to Marva's speech eulogizing herself, or whatever you want to call that, I was surprised that they let that transmission go on as long as it did. They finally, they pulled the plug right as she, was saying, "F the empire, fight the empire."
Mm-hmm.
But it was, they clearly saw that this was starting to get the natives very, very restless. And it just has great, I think, sort of, at least as someone, I love the history of the American Revolution and how it started. And it rings a lot of bells. You almost had the sense that was sort of the British massacre for, for the people of Ferrex. I just love when they kind of grab from, history and pull it in there. It makes you think about your own history in a lot of new ways. A lot of people died. We got Zanwan dead. Corvus dead at the hands of Cinta.
No. That's not. That wasn't Corvus.
was
Corvus was
that?
the driver.
Oh,
Corvus is the driver. You're thinking of this is Corv. Corv.
Oh, how can I get those two confused? Not Corvus. Corv.
Or Cordis. Cordis is the driver.
Cordis.
Yeah, this is confusing because you got Corv, and you got Cordis, you got Bix, and then you got Rick's Road. Yeah, this is we're getting messed with a little bit,
Yeah.
Just a little bit. It's like what George Lucas used to call things like he'd call Planet Hoth, he'd call it Hoth, just to mess with fans. Yeah.
Han.
So Gilroy.
Han Solo.
Han.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I misspoke
Yeah.
earlier. I said the British massacre. I meant the Boston massacre, of course. The Boston massacre. But there was that moment though, Jim, where they turn from, sort of just being there to kind of keep the rioters at bay, and then it goes, all hell breaks loose, and it's fire at will. I mean, that's a huge move for the empire to make. Fire at will.
Yeah.
Women, children, you name it, all there at this funeral procession. Some obviously involved in the riot, some probably not.
Yeah, I mean it's rough on both sides of the coin because you have the guy with the pipe bomb. He wants to protect Ferrex, but his action, killed innocent people, I'm sure,
On both sides,
and
of course.
yeah. So where's hell, kid?
Well, while we're
for
talking
sure.
about him, Wilman, how much coordination do you think was involved in this uprising? Was any of it coordinated? Was any of it premeditated? Or was Wilman
obviously
acting alone?
The empire recognized a threat, so they had their riot crew out there. They had their soldiers in riot gear, and it looked like Chicago cops out there, for crying out loud. But it was
looked like a couple summers ago.
It was a hot situation, to say the least. It was a very hot situation, and everybody knew this going into it. And yeah.
Watching.
What can I say?
John here in the chat, I watched this too. And it's partially because Stellan Skarsgård's just so damn charismatic and the character is so great, but I loved watching his reaction shots throughout the funeral scene, the chaos, everything that was going on. John says, what he had this, what have we done here look on his face. Yeah, I caught that too. Though I think I took it a little bit differently. I didn't take it as a mournful or a regretful what have we done. It was more of, this is why we're doing what we're doing. Like, I think it doubled his resolve. And he was, in a way, not happy. Happy is not the right word. But for lack of a better one, because a better one's escaping you right now, he was happy to see the rebellion take hold in a way, because he wanted, remember, he wanted the Empire to clamp down on the galaxy. That was what was going to. So this was the fruits of that. And he's seeing it firsthand, but it's ugly. And you know what? I'm glad he was there, because for those that are saying this is a character that doesn't risk much, or this is a character who's an opportunist, he uses people, a lot of that's true. I disagree with the not risking much, as he covered in his monologue in that great speech. But I am glad, Jim, that he was there on the ground to see the realities of what he's helped create.
Resistance to the oppression. That's what he wants. He doesn't want the Empire to be doing things with smoke and mirrors. He wants the Empire to be right out there in the open and opening fire on people at a funeral procession.
Yeah.
That doesn't make the Empire look good to the regular people throughout the galaxy.
No.
And so then everyone joins in. Even the old time grappler got involved. When that stormtrooper, he's all out of breath. He goes up the steps all the way into the bell tower. And as soon as he gets up there, he gets time grappler's boot right into his sternum, and over the edge he goes.
Yeah. And that wasn't a Wilhelm scream, but there was this, it was is that the new Wilhelm scream?
They should have put a Wilhelm scream in there. That is hilarious. I would love to see that. Somebody do that and put it on YouTube.
When he kicks him out of there.
Lamps.
Let's see. What else do I got here? Oh, so everybody who's taken off, you got Brasso, you got Bix. Who's the lady? I forget her name. She's also another daughter of Ferrix. Jez, that's right.
Yeah.
Jez, they're all getting on that ship and taking off for the Ganji moon.
Yes. That's a good time.
I don't know. It's the rendezvous, I guess. But is Cassian really gonna, Bix in her kind of near comatose state says Cassian will find us. Cassian will find us. She's confident that their paths will cross again. But it seems like if Cassian has anything to do with it, they won't. He doesn't join them. He's going off with Luthen. It just doesn't seem as though it doesn't feel like it's a rendezvous where he's going to meet up with them.
No, I mean, not right away, at least. And we know season 2 is going to cover a 4-year period, and each arc will be 3 episodes covering 1 year in that period. So it might be mid-season before we see them reunite, or even later. Maybe they form their own rebel cell. And
maybe
then they get absorbed into the organized rebellion.
Yeah, they'll come back. I would think they would come back at some point.
Oh, yeah, they'll come back. They'll definitely come back. I mean, Willman's already shown he could be a valuable asset. He builds those pipe bombs.
Yeah.
And Brasso, he's the big man. He's good in a fight. Jez, we don't really know much about her. And Bix, we know Bix. She's a tough cookie. So they all would be great to have as part of the Rebel Alliance down the road. They need to get a better ship than that thing they took from Pegla.
Right.
It had Y-wing engines on it. Did you notice that?
I didn't notice that, but I did notice. I remember reading about how, with the Falcon and all of that, especially you see it a lot in Empire, how there's always steam coming off of it, to just create that sort of, and there was a lot of steam coming off that ship. I noticed as he was pulling the tubes down. So it just had that dirty, weathered look that we loved so much about the original trilogy.
For sure. We got some aliens in this episode. We had, one of them was in the shadows in that restaurant where,
I didn't notice
Zanwan and Nurchi were having drinks, and it appeared to be like something that looked kind of like a Maz Kanata sort of thing.
I gotta say,
over there by a table.
Why is it all the aliens in Star Wars are a bunch of drunks?
Well,
they're always.
Hey, that's the strong tradition going all the way back to the Mos Eisley Cantina, and we love them for that. And then this guy, he was there. He was part of the protests, the violence that erupted.
Yeah,
Garandan. He
or
was
at
there.
least one of his kind.
Yeah, that's him though. He was there. I had to
Look
freeze
at him.
frame.
Long
You don't really get to
snoot.
see him very. Yeah, there he is.
Brilliant
In all of
figure.
his-
Oh, what a great looking figure that is. Oh, it's
his
so
snooty
good.
glory.
I said that the highest compliment that I can give to Andor, as for me personally as a fan, is the fact that I want all those characters on my shelf. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it that much.
Except for Dedra and Cyril. Dedra and Cyril will get their own shelf.
Let's
for a
talk
little.
about Dedra and Cyril. Wow. All right. So Dedra, wait a minute. Hold on. I got to bring this on. We got wait. What's going on here? We got a cameo. Where's the cameo, Tyler? We had a come on, bring. Oh, look at the little puppy.
The dog
Tyler's
is
got
on
his
camera now.
Tyler's got his dog here. Tyler, what's his name or her name?
Oh, it's Annie. It's Annie. She hangs out with every
Oh.
show. She just sits
I've
behind
never
me.
seen Annie before. She's so
Oh, yeah.
cute. All right. Well,
Sorry.
Annie is the new call screener tonight. So give us a call. We're going to put the number up on the screen. We already have some in the queue, 708-866-1737. So we'll get you ready to call. Tyler, we'll check in with you and Annie a little bit later. So Jim, that showdown or confrontation between Luthen and Cassian, it reminded me of the moment, when in Rogue One, when Saw says to Jin, "You would come to kill me." You do the voice, but did you come here to kill me?
That's pretty good.
Cassian spots Luthen in the crowd fairly early on in the skirmish there, and he must immediately get the sense, wait a minute, this guy's here. He's surrounded by people that are trying to hunt him down. And then he sees Luthen and he's like, even this guy wants a piece of me. So it's like this guy doesn't show up to just anywhere. He obviously wants a piece of me. But he put it together real quick.
And it seems kind of convenient. Oh, Cassian shows up at his ship there at the end. That's kind of convenient, right? But you have to keep in mind that he'd already taken the Fondor to Ferrix in the past, and Andor had left with Luthen on that ship. So I think it was pretty easy for Andor to add it up and say, I bet he parked in the same place he parked at last time he was here.
What did he have to
And
lose?
Sure enough, that would have been a great scene. He's just driving out there on the speeder bike. He's like, I bet you anything it's out there. And then he just comes in. There it is. I knew it.
Yes.
But yeah, so he was waiting for him. And I thought that was a really solid scene, kill me or take me in.
And then there's that wry smile that Skarsgård gives. And was it's just phenomenal. I can't overstate how incredible it was to watch all of these characters, Jim, going back to the first couple episodes, kind of get their moment, get the payoff, get stitched back into the fabric of the story. It was fantastic. It was like there wasn't a wasted moment. And I got to go back and say, or ask the question, was this really a slow burn? That was the word, that was the expression that we all used in the first few episodes. But looking back on season 1, what do you think? What would you qualify this show as a slow burn?
Oh, absolutely.
Still.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I mean, even the funeral, well, that was a slow burn in itself. Everything about this show is slow burn. And so that's when things like action or violence erupts. It probably is even more impactful. Um, yeah, when I first saw it, I was really fearing that it was just a massacre. That scene where the Empire was just shooting into the crowd. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh God, he's just turning into a massacre.
Bloodbath.
But then when I watched it the second time, I didn't quite see it that way. I was able to see more of the pieces clearly fighting against the Empire. And this is how, the people of the galaxy stand up and push back on the Imperial oppression. So that by the time you meet up with Luke in A New Hope, he wants to go to the Imperial Academy. He wants to become a military man. He wants to be a pilot, I guess, right? And so he knows that's his only way off Tatooine.
Yeah.
But when he gets pressed by Ben Kenobi, he's like, it's not like I like the Empire. I hate him, So that attitude needs to reach the people throughout the galaxy, even some places far away as Tatooine, where the Empire really doesn't even have a presence. Yes. Luke is looking to use the Empire as a way to escape, but he doesn't. He's not loyal to the Empire at all.
No, he's not.
He says he hates. He says he hates them.
Yeah. It's not like I like the Empire. I hate him, but it's kind of like what Marva talks about. Tatooine may have been one of those planets, at least from Luke's perspective, where Luke was asleep. The Empire was a minor inconvenience here and there, but for the most part, like Marva says, we lived our lives, we did our thing, but we were asleep and we didn't recognize the threat that they really posed. Luke may have actually been the same way. Hey, I'm still, Uncle, Owen and Aunt Beru can still run the farm. It doesn't impact us all that much, And I started thinking, internally about, everything that you see that goes on, and not just in our country, but on the planet and in your world, in your city, in your town. Life goes on day after day. Kids still get up, they go to school, they do their thing. I know it wasn't until COVID where sort of everybody was kind of thrown in the same boat. And it, not that you can, compare COVID to the Empire, but the idea is that something has to unite the galaxy against this thing. And so, what unites people? A common enemy. Well, how do you make the Empire a common enemy? Well, they have to really piss everybody off, almost at the same time. Otherwise, it's just going to be little spikes here and there.
Speaking of little spikes here and there, remember that graphic they used to show us? They still show it all the time. It's supposed to be like a close-up view of the actual coronavirus, and it's a sphere with these little spiky things all over it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And when you said that the Empire and COVID, I started thinking, wow, what if COVID was the Empire? And you'd have that image of that sphere with the big, TIE fighter solar panels on it.
Yes.
And COVID wars. Well, hey, I shouldn't throw that out there. Lucasfilm will jump on that idea and they'll be like, yeah, that's Taika Waititi's next film. COVID wars. What have I done?
We did mention the post-credit sequence. Those Narkina 5 prisoners were making parts of the Death Star super laser. That was, I was right out of Marvel, the Marvel playbook with I guess Star Wars is now. Is that the first post-credits? No, the Book of Boba Fett moment was a post-credit sequence there at the end of Mando season 2.
Mando season 2. Yeah,
right.
When Boba Fett shot Bib Fortuna at the end of Mandalorian. Yeah. And then season 1 of Book of Boba Fett, you had Timothy Oliphant, Cobb Vanth. He was in the
that's right. Yes,
tank.
That's right.
So this
is the third Star Wars post-credit
I think we
sequence.
Did we not have a post-credit sequence in the season finale for Bad Batch even? I think we did,
Oh,
didn't
boy,
we?
I don't remember that.
I don't
I have no
remember it either.
memory of that. Bad Batch has really kind of, in my memory, sort of come and gone. I remember certain moments, but it hasn't stuck. Not that I didn't enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to another season, but it didn't stick. But we're just in such a new phase with Star Wars. Like, it's testing me in my memory and my ability to retain, like, nobody's business, because there's just so much. Before we open up we're going to go to the phones here. We got a bunch of super chats. I do want to ask Jim, as we look back on this season, something that I've seen bandied about, an idea, a topic bandied about in our own, friendship circles, as well as online, is where does Star Wars storytelling go from here? We've been given a much more sort of grown-up take on the universe. We've seen extraordinarily tight writing, incredible performances by some really talented actors. Can we, and what will it be like if we sort of kind of go back to business as usual? Does this change the game? Does this raise the bar for the future of whether it be Disney Plus or a big, budget feature?
Yeah, I think that's been the question we've all been thinking about throughout this entire season. And I've referred to this season as an experiment by Lucasfilm. And I still look at it that way. How far can they push the family-friendly entertainment franchise into mature adult themes? How far can they push that? As far as quality goes, this season was a huge success. And people talk about it. Well, there can be all sort of different sort of Star Wars. There could be Star Wars for the little kiddies. There can be Star Wars for the families. There can be Star Wars for an adult audience. And I think that's where we're at right now. So when is the attempt going to happen to take all of those elements and try to put them all together to create a sort of balance? Can it be done? It's a good question. It's an interesting experiment. I think we're going to get a nice little palate cleanser with the Bad Batch come January, and it'll lead us back into The Mandalorian. And I think The Mandalorian is going to provide us with the exact tone and feel and tempo that we've grown accustomed with.
I agree.
That show.
I don't think this is going to change the Favreau-Filoni game plan at all. But where it could change things is new stuff being developed. And honestly, I don't really want the tone of Mandalorian to change. I'm really looking forward to another season of The Mandalorian, and I hope that Ahsoka is an extension of that. I think it will be. But I am interested to see where this path will lead, and maybe we'll get, who knows what we'll get down the line. Maybe The Acolyte will be a more grown-up take on Star Wars. We'll see.
Yeah,
but
or maybe that'll have a different tone altogether that we're throwing into the mix that we can't even comprehend right now.
Right. Right. Well, there's going to be dark side, sorcery, all of that stuff is going to be, in a part of it. Let's go over to our super chats. We got several here we want to get to. Thank you so much. Here's Ember says, "Chut chut, boys. What a great episode to end the season with. Thanks for the awesome conversations, keeping my work days entertaining when I'm bored at my desk." That's what it's about. That street riot hits hard with the past few years in the U.S. Oh, absolutely. There's no question that the way that it was framed, Jim, when you saw the Imperials, with their riot gear, and then it seemed like everybody that lived in that town was converging. You just knew that something was going to, all it took was somebody to light a match. Of course, Willman, he lit a big match, but it really got started before that even. But yeah, there's certainly it was not lost on me that there was some very fresh real world implications with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it hits home and, different sort of levels, depending on your perspective. And, it's, We were told before that the series started that it's going to reflect a lot of turmoil that we've witnessed ourselves just in our day-to-day life, but within the parameters of the Star Wars universe. So, that one really hits close to home, though. There's no question about that.
Yeah. Here's Eric from Phoenix, a good friend of ours. He says, good to see there was a time when Imperial stormtroopers were precise. Yeah, we got to see regular TKs taking shots, headshots on some of these. I think Zanwan, I think he got hit with a headshot there by one of the stormtroopers. Yeah, they were definitely a little bit better shots in this episode.
Well, it was like shooting fish in a barrel, though. I mean, they just opened fire on a group of
crowd of people,
unarmed citizens on the street. It was just like open fire. That's scary stuff. Something like that happened in the 30s in Chicago when cops opened fire on a group of union workers who were, it's a real messy part of history that shows up in all different places throughout history.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the phones. We've got, oh my gosh, can it be? We've got Peter Beiser on the line. Peter, of course, is a mainstay in the chats. He's a great guy, and it'll be nice to hear his voice. He's always there supporting us on the in the chat. Peter, we're delighted to have you here on the old after show.
Boys, thank you for taking my call.
Well, how could we not?
It's there's a lot of typing, so I just felt like I could finish out the season here actually chatting with you, and it's a time of being thankful and thinking about all the things that we're thankful for, and obviously we're all here because we're thankful of what we just watched over the last 9 weeks, give or take 10 weeks,
right,
with Andor. But just as thankful as I am of that, you guys know, everybody in the chat and everybody listening at home, these after shows, just the fact that you guys pull us all together for this big party each week. I've put aside birthdays, family vacations. I just started a new job last month, and I just made sure that I was here Wednesday night because of how much fun it is. So,
oh man, thank you. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We're having a ball. I'm kind of bummed, that we've reached the end. We'll have more after shows in the future, but yeah, this has been a ton of fun, and you and some of the others that are mainstays in the chat, keeping everything positive, keeping it intellectual, keeping it fun, is really a huge help. So thank you for what you do as well.
Yeah, just having fun. That's what it's all about. And you know what I really love is each week when you roll around to Monday or Tuesday, it's sort of the early days of the week, and you're not really excited about anything. The weekend seems a million miles away, but you think to yourself, oh, well, I got new Star Wars on Wednesday. Yeah. Hey, that's something worth getting excited about, a little midweek rush. That's pretty nice. So yeah, happy to have you along with us for the ride, Peter, and everyone who's here with us in the chat, everyone who calls in.
Thanks, Jimmy. Yeah, and Jason, thank you too. I'll get out of your hair, but I just wanted to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, and I'll see you again, I guess, for Bad Batch Season 2.
We'll see what happens. Thanks, buddy. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, and your family. Jim, we've made a lot about, is this entertainment for the whole family? Is it grown-up entertainment? I know one kid out there that loves this show, and he's become a regular and a favorite caller to us here with Blake's Take. We got Blake joining us here on the season finale. Blake, I got to ask you, bud, we talk about whether or not this show is fun for kids. You seem to love it. You're here each and every week.
Yeah, it's a pretty good show. It is slow at some points, but you gotta wait for all that slow stuff to go by, because then you get the stuff that you actually want to see. Because you have to know the story first, and then all the battles happen.
Yes, you
Right
gotta
on. Yeah.
know.
Patience.
Right. Yes, you gotta
Patience
know
pays
the
off.
stories and the characters and all of that. Yeah, and then it pays off. So, did this episode pay off for you? What's Blake's take on episode 12?
This was a really good episode. The whole battle at the funeral, how she's making them go attack the Empire, like attack the Empire, and they're all just raiding, and then he throws the bomb and it explodes. Like, it was like a lot of action.
Yeah.
For
it
Andor.
was.
So,
It
is there a
was.
character coming out of this show, Blake, that is a favorite of yours? Who comes on the screen that makes you the most excited every week?
Probably Cassian.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot, but like I really want to know how, like, all the stuff that, like, before Rogue One, like how he all gets there and stuff. Like, it's very interesting.
It is very interesting. So what is it necessarily? Because, a lot of people say, well, there's not enough action in this show, and maybe some of the younger viewers are lost or confused in it. I'm assuming you obviously have great parents because you're listening to the Rebel Force Radio After Show. But are you watching this with mom and dad?
I watch it with my dad, and then after he gets home from work, we usually all watch it.
Okay, so then
Like,
the family
me, my
watches it.
mom. Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
do you follow it pretty well, or are you asking a lot of questions to mom and dad when you're watching it?
I follow it pretty well because, like, it gives you, like, a guideline, basically, of what all is going down.
Mm-hmm.
And, like there is some, like, questions I will have every once in a while because it's, like, confusing at points. But then after a few minutes, then they, like, kind of explain the question that I had in the show.
Right. And what do your friends at school think about Andor? Do you talk? Are you able to talk about Andor with anybody?
I do have one friend who knows about Andor, but he's only watched one episode so far.
Oh,
He hasn't
all right.
made it through all the others.
Well, you're
You gotta
more
get him on
advanced.
board.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're here for you, Blake. Not those other kids. Those other kids don't know what they're missing. Plus, there's sugary breakfast cereal in Andor as well. So there's something for the kids. That's for sure. Would you buy cereal if they should market that? I think that's a great marketing opportunity for Star Wars. They don't market Andor at all. I mean, yeah, you can't find pictures of Andor on cans of Campbell's soup or boxes of mac and cheese. Baby Yoda's everywhere. They even have chicken nuggets shaped like Baby Yoda. What Andor character would you like to see be made into a chicken nugget?
I don't know. I don't think I'd be wanting to eat, like, Cassian or something for dinner.
There's nobody cute and cuddly really in the. Well, I mean, when you get a little older, maybe you'll find a couple of characters that might be cute and cuddly in this show. But
yeah, like Partagas.
Yeah,
Partagas. He's
he'd
cute
be a
and
good
cuddly.
chicken nugget.
Let's make him into a chicken nugget. What do you say?
Blake, we've had a lot of fun talking to you over the weeks, buddy. We were so happy that you're liking Andor. We're super happy that you are tuning in and watching the Rebel Force Radio After Show. We really appreciate it, dude. So hopefully you will continue to call us on future after shows, and we've got more live action Star Wars showing up on Disney Plus in the new year. But I want you and your family to have a wonderful Thanksgiving, a very Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year, okay?
Okay, and I hope your guys' families do too.
Thanks. Hey,
Thanks,
Blake,
Blake.
do you have a Star Wars Chut Chut shirt, by the way? Do you own one, or a Rebel Force Radio's Chut Chut shirt?
No, I don't think so.
All right, well, you need to have one, so we're going to send you one. Would you please, I'm going to put, Tyler, I'm going to put Blake back into the queue, and would you get his address, and we'll send him a Chut Chut shirt, okay? All right, Blake. Thanks, buddy. We appreciate it.
Courtesy of Swanky's Tees.
Yeah.
Let's see if that kid gets that shirt before season 2 wraps up.
What are you talking about? We have very prompt service.
Blake's he's a patient kid. He sits through all the boring stuff to get to the action sequences, so he might be have to exhibit some of that patience waiting for Jason to send him a t-shirt.
Come on. Come on. All right, we've had a couple of issues.
I'm trying to tell you.
Tell me what. All right, we got some more. We got some more super chat. We'll have it to him before Christmas, I promise. All right. Turtle Wars says it's a great time to be a lifelong 50-year-old Star Wars junkie. Looking forward to the next round of RFR after shows. Well, thanks, Turtle Wars.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's a great time to be hanging out on Star Wars. I just love the fact that we've got this forum and this ability to get together every week. It's fantastic.
Turtle Wars is like me, a 50-year plus veteran of Star Wars, and it really is amazing to think that we have this ability to watch Star Wars on a weekly basis and then come on camera and talk about it.
It's wild.
with hundreds of people contributing to the conversation via super chats and call-ins and emails they send us and social media and all of that stuff. And, when I just think about those years when Star Wars went away, it was a 16-year period from 83 to 99 when Star Wars was just completely off the map. It was amazing when they started making books in the early 90s and they started writing novels about Star Wars. That was good, but it wasn't as great as like something like this, where we're talking new live action Star Wars, prequels to prequels. It's just crazy. It's mayhem.
Well, when you couple it with the fact that, you've spent your whole professional career in radio, it's like you've been gearing up your whole life for this. I mean, between your avocation of being a Star Wars fan and your profession of working in radio, it's like, oh yeah, Star Wars talk show.
Yeah, I'm very blessed to have two of my biggest passions in life come together that way. And then with Swank, I mean, on top of it all, it couldn't be any better. And everyone who listens to this show, it's a good time of year to be thankful. That's all I got to say. Yeah.
So here's Anthony. Anthony says, thankful for RFR. In episode 1, Cass flew Y-Wing Chop to look for a sister and begins his journey. Oh, good reminder about the sister. The manifesto was always a plot tool because in Rogue One, Jeddah scenes, Cass has the manifesto on his pack strap. And you saying, on his pack strap? Anthony, if you got more details about that, I'd love to hear it. So drop it in the chat. So Cass flew Y-Wing Chop to look for his sister. Yeah, so that's the ship that he got from, what's his name? Pegla. Pegla in the junkyard, right? He took that ship to go look for his sister. And that is, I was complimenting... I was complimenting Gilroy on how he stitched together all these threads, Jim. The sister plot did not come back. Do we think that we've seen the end of his quest for his sister?
No, I don't. Because it's been referenced twice at the beginning of the whole season, and then Marva brings it up. So I don't think so, with it being reinforced in the story twice that way. But yes, it definitely didn't come into play in season 1 like we thought it might. But and Anthony brings up a really good point that Cassian did take that ship out, and Pegla catches him as there's some sort of computer log or something that Cassian is forging or erasing or something just to cover up the fact that he had taken the ship. I mean, he's hiding evidence, right? He's cleaning up after himself. He doesn't want any evidence showing that ship was on Morlana when those cops got shot. That's all he needs. And so and then that's the same ship that is seen taking off with Brazo, Jez, Willman, and Bix at the end of the episode. So yeah, things come full circle somehow,
Yeah.
and that's pretty cool. It is kind of like a Y-wing, though. Yeah, those engines are
The
definitely
engines, yeah.
yeah.
Here's Michael next
Parts
door
of a
says, wasn't the funeral parade like the one from The Godfather?
I thought that. I did think that. Yeah. I definitely did think that. It just had the vibe.
Yeah.
There's not really any
Yeah.
specific thing you could put your finger on, but there was just like the pacing was
Yep.
was kind of deliberate.
Some people were
much
thinking
like-
about New Orleans funerals where you've got the band playing, and that was the Andor theme that they were playing, right? The band was playing the Andor theme. What do you make of that? I kind of dug it, actually. It gave, for me, it gave more resonance to the Andor theme, that has, that there's more meaning behind it. Or did it bother you? How did you?
No, it
feel
didn't.
about it?
It didn't bother.
Yeah.
I have been bothered in the past by hearing soundtrack music being used as like in real world situations, like as incidental music. The thing that bothers me is in Rebels, they take the Imperial March and they play it in a marching band, but it's in the major key, not the minor key. So it sounds real upbeat. And I mean, to me, that just sounds silly.
Yeah.
With something as iconic as that John Williams soundtrack stuff, and you go and play around with it that way and then place it in the actual reality of the existence of these characters and everything. It just doesn't work for me. The Andor theme was better because it's a little more subtle. It's not so ingrained and iconic at this point.
Yeah, right.
So
right.
that really helps it, that benefits. And then plus at the beginning of each episode, we had those little 30-second stabs at the Andor theme as the title card would reveal itself. And every week there were variations on that theme. There were different instruments being incorporated. Some were heavier sounding, some were more mellow sounding. And so, we never really tried picking those apart, but they could have indicated a little something about the tone of each episode, really.
Yeah.
If you want to boil them all down and look at it, I'm sure you could come up with the strings are playing the theme this week, and that means that
There's symbolism in
is-
that.
Yeah, right. There's always
Reminds
symbolism in
me,
it.
Jim, and I think is it an Octopussy when Bond shows up, James Bond shows up on in India, and you got the guy, he's doing the
Snake charmer.
Yeah. And Bond recognizes it. Oh, that's my theme. Of course, that was a Roger Moore one. Just so
Very
funny.
similar.
But
in
no,
Andor, it works. It
Yeah.
works better in Andor.
Yeah, it gives the theme some gravitas. Here's Matt Tween says, no one can say Andor doesn't have brass instrumentals. Yeah, okay.
Were people saying that?
I don't know. Was that a thing?
Not on this show.
Matt Tween, let us
Boy,
know.
I'll tell you what. I need more of those cantina aliens populated. And where are the brass instruments? God damn! Ah! Oh, we're such a
don't know.
toxic fan base.
Matt Tween, was that a thing? All right, we've got, let's see, who else is on here? Let's see, who's on? We got Mariana from Florida. Mariana, you're on with Rebel Force Radio and the After Show. Thank you so much. Hello? Maybe I didn't hit the button.
Yeah.
Mariana. Hey, there she is.
Hey,
Hey,
Hey.
chut.
Yeah, there I am.
All
Happy
right.
Thanksgiving. How are you guys?
Oh, doing great. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well.
Oh, well, thank you so much. First of all, I want to say that was so sweet, Jimmy and Jason, what you did for young Blake there a couple minutes ago.
Oh, well, we just want to make him a human billboard is all we want to do. We want him out there promoting the podcast.
Well, we're just giving back.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
That's so
provided us with
sweet.
so much
That's so
entertainment,
sweet.
Right.
He certainly has. And also, I wanted to echo what Peter said earlier. Being a part of the RFR community has been amazing these last 2.5 years, and I'm just really happy that I get to be a part of this awesome group with you guys.
Oh, that's kind. Thank you very
great.
much, and we are certainly glad to help facilitate said community. That's for sure. We appreciate it.
Yeah. So actually, I wanted to call in because I actually wanted to give you my take on the final episode and also this overall season and the series as a whole, if it's all right.
Yeah, please go for it.
So I just, well, this was a very interesting finale for this season, and it makes me very interested to see where it goes in season 2. But I want to be honest with you, and I really hope I'm not bringing down the mood. But I feel like this was a good show, but I felt like there was something missing. It's beautifully shot. It's very well written, and the actors Diego, Genevieve, Forrest, Stellan, Kyle, Denise, Faye, everyone has done an amazing job. But I felt I was a little bit underwhelmed by the finale, and I feel like I don't know. Am I the only one who felt a little bit underwhelmed by the finale?
Well, here's I'll just say this. I knew going into it before I hit play on my Disney Plus app, I knew that this was not going to be a culmination in terms of, it's not going to take us into Rogue One. We know, I guess what I'm saying is we know there's a lot more story to tell. And so to me, it was what made it so enjoyable was how all these characters came back. We saw how they fit into the bigger picture. They all kind of had their moment. Some of them, met their end. So that's all I was really looking for. I didn't put a lot of pressure on this finale, probably because I knew season 2 was already greenlit. It was already in front of cameras. I just didn't think that there was a lot to lose, a lot at stake for the season 1 finale.
I think it's important also to close the door on Ferrix. I think it's important for us to move on from Cassian's home world as he is moving on himself.
Yeah.
So I don't think we'll see much of Ferrix anymore. And that's a good thing because Cassian is going to devote himself more to the fight against evil, and he's going to become a full-time rebel.
Yeah.
And what is he leaving behind? He's leaving behind his home world that is engulfed in revolution. So, that was kind of, mission accomplished there. And that's what he wants to foment all over the galaxy wherever he goes. That's his goal. He did it at the Narkina prison. He did it at Aldani, but that was more for merely selfish reasons. However, he did stick it to the Empire. And at the end of the day, that's what he realizes is his top priority. But I get what you're saying in a way, because we didn't have really any uplifting moment at the end, which is very different for a Star Wars finale of any type, where we don't really get uplifted at all. And, I mean, sure, people could point at Empire Strikes Back. It ends on a bummer. We all know that. But I mean, maybe that's just something that is a void for you. And I get that.
Yeah. No, actually, I wanted to go off on that because I think this is something about the tone of this show. I feel like because, and I've been having some discussions with friends about this, that because Cassian is a spin-off character from a spin-off movie and not like the main Skywalker trilogy, I feel like Tony Gilroy and the creators have a little bit more creative freedom, like this particular formula for this show. I don't think that this particular formula would work well for like legend characters like Vader, Obi-Wan, Boba, Chewie, Han, Luke, Leia, etc. Which is why I think the Filoni-Favreau's formula works for them. But we have someone like Tony Gilroy and maybe now Leslie Headland for the Acolyte. I mean, it'll be very interesting to see. And I wanted to go off on that regarding the future of storytelling, in which I don't know how much you guys are going to cover into this, but we've had a surprise change of leadership in Disney. And I don't know how much you got that later this year, later this show, but like, where do you think that will impact the future of storytelling now for Star Wars regarding, since you said they bring season 2, what's going to happen? What's going on?
What's going on? Indeed. Thanks, Mariana. Great questions. Obviously, we're going to cover the transition of power at Disney on future episodes of the Rebel Force Radio podcast. But if you're looking for sort of a hot take, I would say that what some people are missing, for me, what some people are missing when talking about the Iger and Bob Chapek coup, what you might call it, a coup d'etat, to remove Bob Chapek and put Bob Iger back in charge. What I think some people are missing, some people are pointing it out, but I'm on the side of Bob Chapek had autonomous control of Disney for about 11 months. He's been CEO for 3 years. The first 2 years were spent with Bob Iger, his predecessor, as the chairman of the board. The chairman of the board or the board in general, they employ the CEO. The CEO then employs the rest of the organization, the rest of the team. It is unfathomable to me that Bob Chapek would have been able to create such chaos and destruction within the Disney empire right under the control of Bob Iger as chairman of the board. So for me to look at Bob Iger as some sort of hero or some sort of God figure coming back to save the company is crazy. To me, it's like saying, well, I'm going to get the guy that actually lit the match to the company to come in and put out the fire. Certainly, I'm not a Bob Chapek apologist by any means, or a huge fan of his. I just think that I believe that we are still living firmly in Bob Iger's Disney. Chapek wasn't there long enough with the reins to actually, I think, create any great influence creatively. I want to stress creatively, structurally, etc. Yes, he was, but creatively, Jim, I don't see Chapek being a factor at all for what we're seeing on the screens.
Yeah, I mean, there were mistakes he made, very public ones. This whole thing reminds me a lot of when Conan O'Brien was hosting The Tonight Show, and then 6 months later, Jay Leno came back and reclaimed his place as host.
That was wild.
Chapek, Bob Iger is looked at as a legend in Disney circles and stuff, and you never want to be the replacement of a legend. You want to be the replacement for the replacement. And Iger's having his cake and eating it too. But I mean, look at Kathleen Kennedy. She replaced the legend, George Lucas, essentially. And, she hasn't had an easy go at it. Now, naturally, with the news that Bob Iger is coming back to right the ship, people are talking, and they're putting a target on Kathy Kennedy again. But it's unfortunate she can't get any films up off the ground. So, I mean, that track record speaks for itself. But on top of it all, she's also taken a lot of hits for the fact that the sequel trilogy was rushed and misguided along the way. And I think that all has to do with Bob Iger imposing release dates on the films before anything was really solidified as far as a script or a crew or a cast. And you don't have a movie, so you got to stop it with these release dates. But he only wants to suck on the teat of the shareholders, and that's his top priority. And that's all he cares about, is making that board of directors happy and those shareholders. Creativity be damned, I think. And so Bob Iger's back, the guy who arguably destroyed the Star Wars sequel trilogy and turned his back on George Lucas, kicked him out to the curb. Let's celebrate that. Yeah, let's celebrate that they're going to be giving this guy $200 million a year to come into Disney and make money for them. I mean, they're already behind the eight ball. They got to give Chapek a big golden parachute, and you got Iger rolling in there, and he's not rolling in.
Oh, they just gave Chapek. They just extended his term. There are some rumors swirling around two in particular. There's one that looks to the initial Hollywood Reporter story. That story broke kind of late in the evening a few days ago about the Chapek getting fired. And I believe the initial story with Hollywood Reporter said that there was an emergency meeting of the board of directors. That would indicate something perhaps scandalous that we haven't heard about. So who knows? Who knows? I think that the public failings of Bob Chapek are not. I don't think they rise necessarily to the level of firing the CEO. Something we don't know. Who knows? But emergency meeting, and that narrative seems to have been dropped. There's not a lot of talk about that, but that was the initial report, was that him being sacked came about after an emergency meeting, as they call it. Jim, there are also rumors that Apple, that Iger's there just to sell the company to Apple. Could we finally get a Star Wars branded iPhone? That would be nice. I remember when Google released the Droid for the first time. There were Star Wars themed Droid phones that were put out. I wouldn't mind my iPhone having a Siri voiced by Anthony Daniels. That would be nice. Hey,
that's
3PO.
just like you. That's just like you, only thinking about the tech. But, I mean, or what if it's the other way around? What if Disney buys Apple? I mean, Iger loves to acquire.
Iger acquire. Yeah, he's the deal maker. That's his MO, right?
Bob Acquire Iger. That's what he's known as. And, I think a lot of the problems Disney might be having too is that they've just, it's been too much too fast. And they purchased Pixar, they purchased Marvel, they purchased Lucasfilm, and then they purchased 20th Century Fox. Oh my God, how many different parts in that machine? And so I think maybe it might have just overwhelmed the system there, I mean, I just think it's crazy that the biggest entertainment company in the world can't exist for more than 11 months without Bob Iger there. I mean, the whole thing requires one guy there to make it work. I mean, this is craziness. What has become of corporate America when that's the case?
Just when Jimmy Mack has such a great way of distilling it all down. If you were watching this on social media, if you heard him describe the Star Wars holiday special, which is incomprehensible to most human beings, Jimmy Mack was able to distill it down, the plot, in 1 minute. I timed it. It was exactly 1 minute. And here he was able to just so beautifully summarize the problem with Disney, why they couldn't survive 11 months without one guy, Bob Iger. Brilliant analysis. Love it. Here's Greg with the super chat. Did you guys notice what ship was on the pad next to the Imperial shuttle? It was Imperial freighter of the same type that they used for Rogue One. I did not notice that, but
yeah. There's the same sort of with it has two sets of wings on each side, so you have 4 wings on the ship. I think it's very similar to a design that was created for the Star Wars Special Edition back in '97, and you could see it in the background of the "Look, sir, droids" scene. You see a ship lifting up, and it looks similar to that. But yes, we also do see it in Rogue One for sure.
Look at this, Aaron McKissick with an incredibly generous super chat here. Yeah, all right, you're reading it right. He says, amazing episode and series. I love you guys and appreciate everything you do. Well, that is insanely generous, and thank you so much.
That kind of generosity gets Aaron and his family over to my house tomorrow night for Thanksgiving dinner.
And
that's all it takes.
And a tour of the soon-to-be-revealed new Star Wars room. You haven't talked a lot about it on the air, Jim, but I happen to know that there's a big change happening with the Star Wars room. It's soon to have a new name. I think we'll see it in the new year.
Yeah, we'll shoot videos and stuff. But Billy Mack will be coming over, and he'll be seeing it for the first time tomorrow.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
That is, if he can come up with the admission fee, he will be seeing it tomorrow.
Here's Bo Stevens. He's following up. He says, "Oh, let's just pretend this is also $2.99." Okay, that's fine. It doesn't matter where you put the decimal, right? Well, we love you too, Bo. Thanks very much.
Thanks,
very
Bo.
nice of you. Let's see. Here's Ryan. Ryan says, "Loving the show." And did you guys notice the Brasso? Did you guys notice Brasso use Marva as a weapon right at the start?
Yeah, the brick.
Sort of. Oh yeah.
the brick.
Okay. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, that was very cool.
Yeah.
So she was in the fight. She really was.
Yeah. She is motivating the citizens of Ferrix to stand up for their independence from the grave, and she's also applying a wallop, courtesy of Brasso, swinging that brick around and smacking that Imperial soldier right upside the head. I enjoyed that.
She would have wanted it that way.
Yeah, she would have definitely wanted.
Here's Jeff Holland. Here's another mainstay in the chat over the last several weeks. Loved Andor. Loved the RFR live shows. Love RFR. Let's do this again, shall we? Bring on Bad Batch Season 2 and Mando Season 3. Thanks to J-Mac, Jason, Tyler, and RFR chat crew. Yeah, cheers. Thank you, buddy. And thanks absolutely to all of you in the chat. It's so much fun to hang out with you every week.
Yeah.
Can't wait to do it again. Let's go back to the phones. We've got Garrett from... Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, they're both Patrons. Okay, good. Here's Garrett from Wisconsin. Hey, Garrett, you're on with Rebel Force Radio.
Hey, guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. How are you?
Hi, Garrett.
Perfect. Hey, guys, I'm doing good. Hey, I just wanted to point out a couple small things, like when Cassian was telling them where to go and giving them directions, it sort of mirrored back to when Nemec was giving them directions, fly low and then climb and don't stop, essentially. I thought that was a fun little detail.
That's right. He was talking about the far side of the moon or whatever the hell it was, or the lake or something, and he just keep going. Yeah. Right. Good point.
And then also, I think Luthen being there was very important. Just being able to see that, like, the thing that he bet everything on with I can't remember the planet name, but the heist, like
Aldhani, yeah,
basically sparked the fire. Yeah, Aldhani sparked the fire on Ferrix, essentially, and that's what he was going for.
Yes, it absolutely did. He was there to literally see the impact of the Aldhani heist. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then that's just a couple small details that I noticed, but I was championing the show before we ever got a trailer, and it was really, really nice to not have to eat my words, because I kind of had to eat my words in Book of Boba Fett after a while. But I'll tell you, it's this. I don't know if this beats Mandalorian. I'm gonna have to go rewatch that. But this might be like my favorite Star Wars show, since Rogue One is like my favorite Star Wars movie. I know that's sacrilegious. Jimmy has told me in person, but you know.
Wait. We've told. That sounds like a Jimmy Mack comment in person. Did Jimmy Mack once tell you in person that it was sacrilegious to love Rogue One? Or was that me?
No, that was my favorite. I did my RFR VIP Q&A. Go check it out on the Patreon, guys. Definitely worth it. But it was like, you gotta the Holy Trilogy.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I got a policy about that. You know, it's my policy.
I know you do.
Yeah.
I had to.
I know what you're talking about.
But no,
you know, I instilled that policy. I'll tell you the origin of that policy. I was at a Giordano's Pizza in downtown Chicago. It was myself, Christian Mocht, and Dan Madsen. This is like 16 years ago.
Wow.
And we're having dinner, and we start talking about our favorite Star Wars films. Maybe we were ranking them or something. I don't know. But Christian placed Revenge of the Sith like in his top 3. And I felt it coming off of Madsen, the disapproval of adding a prequel film.
Dan, who's like the most, the least aggressive, confrontational guy you could imagine. But you actually saw it. You saw the reaction. Yeah. He bristled.
Yeah.
Did he bristle?
Yeah. Well, I mean, with the arms folded and everything, you know. He said, Christian, I don't see how you can place anything but the original 3 in your top 3 if you're going to rank these films. And Christian, he was steadfast. He wasn't gonna
Yeah.
change that for anyone.
No.
Even if it is the former president of the original president of the Star Wars fan club.
He's the
not
George
gonna-
Washington of Star Wars organized fandom. The very first president, Dan Madsen.
Yeah, well, yeah, Dan saw great opportunity to have an awesome fan community, and he really helped along with that. But the community is only awesome for Dan if people recognize the Holy Trilogy, and I'm talking about the original, the real Holy Trilogy. Okay,
The fandom is only awesome for Dan if they.
yeah. Only awesome.
Because you
If you
saw the
rank the
arms
film.
fold across the chest and the look. And he,
Yeah. You have to respect the foundation of this whole crazy thing.
I
and
like
that's
to
the
think that he
original
just
trilogy.
he picked up that deep dish and just shoved it in Mock's face like a Three Stooges bit. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, he jumped through the window and we never saw him again. but no, I appreciated that. When
Yeah.
Dan admonished him, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, you know what, Dan? I'm like, damn right, man. Damn right, man.
You don't disrespect that.
I said, damn right, Dam's Dana, or whatever his character's name is from the Phantom. Dam's Dana.
Damn
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
All right, we've got Scott with a super chat. Scott, thank you so much. He said, enjoyed this season, but had an issue with the lack of aliens. None in Narkina 5. Did the Empire only arrest humans? Thanks. We'll miss these after shows. Jim, is it possible that the aliens weren't jailed, but they were enslaved?
Right. Or sent off to do more menial labor,
Mm.
like building a road or something,
Because they were sorted. They would sort,
Yeah.
like, you go here, you go there. Yeah.
Right. And maybe, for a project as precious as the Death Star is to the Emperor and all the Imperials, maybe they don't consider aliens even worthy of working on such an important project, with their bigotry and everything.
Right.
So maybe that's the case. Historically, we had always heard that Wookiees were sent to labor camps under the Empire. I mean, just like you couldn't really Chewbacca walking around during the original trilogy, that was a rarity for people to see a Wookiee walking around like that.
Yeah, you see it where he goes, where are you taking this thing?
Yeah. And so like a prisoner transfer on the Death Star, that was probably a day-to-day occurrence if a Wookiee was involved. I mean, it's not uncommon to see a Wookiee in handcuffs being marched around the corridors of the Death Star. Han and Luke were able to do it with Chewie, no problem. Nobody even batted an eyelash at them.
Yeah.
So I think Wookiees are like a rarity throughout the galaxy in the time of the Imperial reign. But they get sent off to do, like I said, more menial labor, like
Right.
like building roads, chopping down trees, whatever they do. Meanwhile, when it comes to building important tech for the battle station, that's going to be humans only because the Empire doesn't trust the aliens.
Here's Marco. Marco with a super chat. I haven't watched much of the recent Star Wars fair, but I like leaving you guys on in the background. It's like actually having a dad. Oh my gosh, Marco. Hey, my two dads, me and Jimmy Mack right here. Well, I tell you what, we got you covered, buddy. So I tell you, whether or not you're watching new Star Wars or not, if our voices bring you any kind of comfort, that's my pleasure. That's our pleasure right here. Thanks, buddy.
Yes.
Very sorry.
Yes.
That's very nice of you.
That is very nice. And you can also come over for Thanksgiving dinner with the family. I think that'd be great to have Marco over.
Yeah,
So I got to prepare Wendy for this. But
she's not expecting. Here's Joe Dallas with a super chat. Great guy, great musician as well. Thank you, Joe, for the CD you sent over. That's very, very good. Love it. Happy Thanksgiving, Jason and Jimmy, and all of the RFR buddies. Thanks, pal. Absolutely. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. Here's William. Says, preparing for Thanksgiving, thankful for you both and this great community. Our family is so excited for Star Wars. Yeah, right back at you. Thankful for you. Thankful for this show and the ability to hang together and all the cool stuff we're going to see next year. Back to the phones. Let's wrap things up phone-wise with Eric from Phoenix. Eric, you're on with Rebel Force Radio, and a fitting way to wrap up the phone calls. A lot of regulars this week. Yeah.
A lot of regulars. Yeah.
Hey, Eric. Hello, Eric.
Earth paging Phoenix. Come in, Phoenix.
In the meantime,
Phoenix Squadron.
Here's Chris. Says, I'm thankful for RFR. Happy holidays to you and your families. RFR #1. Thanks, man. We like to think so. Appreciate it. Appreciate the love.
Look what I found in my jacket. Remember these?
Look at those. Jimmy Mack sporting the the Rebel mask. There it is. Right. I remember those very well.
Taking you back to early 2022 with that one.
Hey, Eric, are you on? Last call. Hello, Eric.
Oh, this is so sad.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. I think this might be my bad.
Swank!
How dare I? Hold on, Eric. We're coming for you, buddy. I promise.
We got so we still have some super chats coming in. He guy says, great season of Star Wars television conversations here. See y'all in January for Bad Batch. Unless we could get a Willow after show in between. Well, let me put it into any speculation about that happening. It's not going to. However, I did see a trailer for the Willow show that really, it sucked me in. It was the first time I saw any footage for that show that really made me feel excited or interested in that show. And so, yeah, we'll be watching, and I'm sure we'll talk a little Willow maybe on the weekly show. But after show, hell no.
Yeah.
We also heard from Garrett from, is that what, Milwaukee, MKE? It sounds like it's a designation for James Bond. Yes, he's with the MKE. Wanted to give you this as well. Thanks for having me on. I'll be back on Q&A when my life gets a tiny bit less crazy. Love you guys. Y'all are definitely my Star Wars dads. Hey, you know what? We could get Blake together and pitch a sitcom, Two and a Half Men.
2.5 Star Wars fans. I like it.
2.5 Star Wars men. That's it.
I think we got Eric back on. Hey, Eric, can you hear us now, or can we hear you? Hello,
Eric. This is no way for us to end the season.
No, we can't do this
without Eric. Oh well.
Yeah.
You'll hear Eric on RFR Q&A. You know, you hear people talking about the Q&A. That's a bonus exclusive podcast for all members of Rebel Force Radio on Patreon. Every supporter gets access to that show. There are 142 episodes of RFR Q&A available for every member of Patreon. Only $1 gets you in the door, and you're listening. And you'll also be able to see all the great things that RFR on Patreon has to offer. That's really the place, the internet home of Star Wars Rebel Force Radio conversation is RFR on Patreon.
All right, final super chat. The funeral scene was so powerful, funny, that with all of the imp forces on display at the funeral, they needed a guy with a heavy coat to stop Marva's message playing. He did. He dropped the coat on B2. Hey, and by the way, thanks, Fred. Appreciate that. And how cute and touching was B2. I love B2. He's on the ship with everybody.
He's definitely chicken nugget worthy. B2. We should get some chicken nuggets shaped like B2. That would make some sense.
I lied. Curtis Hanson dropping in with super chat. Willow after show. Let's go. We'll see.
It's not Star Wars. It's not Star Wars.
Oh my God. All right. That'll wrap it up for us. We're going to check in with Tyler here, though. Tyler, we love Tyler. He's so great with screening all of our calls. And he's got a really cute dog, Annie. Tyler, what didn't we get to? What did we miss? What did our callers miss? Anything? What jumped out at you this week?
Well, my favorite part was when that Kubaz got tased, and then taken away. Yeah.
Long snoot.
Eric from Phoenix actually brought something up to me behind the scenes that I hadn't heard before or seen. And apparently, Deidre's blaster was a callback to a role-playing game from in the 80s.
Really?
I didn't catch that.
Oh, that was a great. See, they were about ready to tear her limb from limb, and Cyril swoops in, and I think some of that ice that forms over Deidre started to melt away just a little bit.
Still,
when she said,
Cyril.
He's like, I guess
Cyril
I should say
disappoints
thank
me.
you.
Cyril disappoints me because instead of executing a really awesome pickup line, he sticks a blaster in her back and pushes her into some service closet there on the side of the road. He really needs to work on his technique. But I think at the end of the day, Cyril gets the girl.
I think so too. What else, Ty, before we wrap up this episode and this season? Where does this show, and when I say rank with you, I don't need a number, but I mean, where does this show fall for you in terms of some of the other Star Wars series we've seen on Disney Plus? How will you remember this first season of Andor?
Well, it scratches an itch, but it's not the same itch that the Mandalorian scratches. So it's just different, and I'm open to seeing next season, because if that's really where this all goes. So
okay,
I thought they did a great job of like tying it up though in this last episode. Like, I thought there was enough loose threads there that they can pull later, and you got to see real character moments where, like, Cinta is really aggressive. I feel like she like just no doubt shanks that guy like it was nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Vicious.
I'm curious how that's gonna play into like next season, and if like her and Cassian seem like the only people who can go and like kill people like that. Like, everyone else kind of cringes before they do it.
Right.
So yeah, that's where my mind's at. I think it's
so.
right.
Tyler, it needs to be a little closer to. You're saying you're really looking forward to season 2, where it's going to be butting up against Rogue One. So like that's your zone. You need it to be kind of butting up against something like that.
Yeah, I think that's going to make it so much better. I don't know.
Okay.
It feels too distant right now. They're just playing in another world almost.
All right. Well, we appreciate you playing in our world every week as our official call screener. That's right. Tyler is always in call screener fatigues. And
Day and night.
Day and night. Thanks, buddy. It's been so much fun, and I'm looking forward to the next series of after shows with you. Appreciate it, and have a wonderful holiday with you and yours.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Jimmy Mack, final thoughts. I know this is a big question. We're looking at episode 12, Rick's Road. By the way, does Bix live on Rick's? Isn't that a meme? Like Bix on a Rick's. Road, that is. But anyway, final thoughts. Episode 12, Andor Season 1.
Well, this certainly is set the plate now for what we're going to see in Season 2. I mean, there's just so many different loose threads that we can carry on into Season 2. Obviously, Andor's continued evolution into the rebel we know he becomes, and actually seeing the rebellion evolve, and possibly see more of Saw Gerrera's involvement, possibly see them come together a little bit. Because I think there's a period of time where Saw does try to get on board with the Alliance, and it just doesn't work, because Saw does not play well with others. That's the case. But I certainly hope we see that picked up on. Luthen, of course, is an amazing character, and I'd like to learn more about him, really. What is motivating Luthen the most? It's been kind of vague. We know the Empire is evil, and we know they're oppressive, but what has pushed Luthen to a place where he is essentially giving up anything from his old life to carry on with a war against the Empire? Corv getting stabbed by Cinta there in the doorway. What a quality kill that was. I like she throws in a little grunt right when she sticks that knife in that Imperial's gut. I was very impressed by that. Very impressed. Also impressed by what somebody said in the chat about Mon Mothma's husband, Perrin, that he is the Big Lebowski of Star Wars, essentially. If you look closely at his beverage, it was a White Russian. And, you know, he's walking around in robes all the time, just kind of being the dude, isn't he? He's just the dude.
And he does
Perrin's
abide.
the dude. But all in all, it was just a really outstanding end to season 2, which was an outstanding kickoff to this series. Season 1 was an outstanding kickoff to the series. Season 2, I think, is going to really deliver in a big way, and I expect even more of those familiar Star Wars elements to be visible as this series gets closer and closer to A New Hope, and I will welcome that. Borg Gullet, not in this episode.
You know, I was holding out hope that when Cassian was in the junkyard and those two dogs were going after him. I'm like, is that Borg Gullet? Is Borg Gullet? Is he sort of the guard Gullet? No, it was those dogs.
These Corellian hounds.
Yes.
That we see in Solo. We see them in Solo. Same dogs.
This has been so much fun. Thank you again to Tyler and everybody that has called in and been with us on the chats. Of course, all of the episodes, if you're new and you want to say, what do they think about episode 4? What about episode 6? Those can be found at rebelforceradio.com, the official website for us here. And if you like what you're watching and hearing on YouTube, if you're finding us that way, we got a weekly podcast that we've been doing for, a decade and a half. So check it out. All that can be found rebelforceradio.com. Also on our YouTube channel as well, across the socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can find us here on Rebel Force Radio, and we will see you next time. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Have a wonderful holiday, and we will see you next time on Rebel Force Radio. Appreciate all the love and all the support so much. For RFR, I'm Jason.
And I'm Jimmy Mack.
And remember,
the Force will be with you, always.